Welcome to the Think Global Future Podcast. We are back for another episode, and we're talking all things getting started with AI. On our last episode, we talked about how to get started with AI. We gave a quick definition of AI. We really kind of laid the groundwork for what this thing is. I'm here again with the amazing Dr. Toy, and we're going to give you guys some great insights and some great information on how you can get started with artificial intelligence. Dr. Toy, what do the people need to know? What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to share this episode with everybody. So we are going to go all the way back. So if you're showing up here and you are an advanced user, we'll have content for you too. But we're going to go all the way back to square one and just getting started. Like get in, give it a whirl and see what it can do. So what we are going to start with is, okay, I just turned on my computer. Now what do I do? So you can go over, you can type in a Google search if you want, but go over to ChatGPT. We'll talk today about ChatGPT and Gemini predominantly. There are other ones. There's Claude, which is coming on strong. There's Grok. I wouldn't do that one just yet, but just start with the basics. ChatGPT and Gemini are basically the two biggest. And all of them work the same, but that gives you a place to get started. I have analysis paralysis. So I know when I was getting started, I wanted to make sure I did it right. It really is no right way, but start with one of those. If you have Google, you already have Gemini, so you don't need to even figure out where to go. You can just, there's probably a little star in the corner of your screen. So you can just click on that and it'll take you right to Google's model for LLM. Large language model. So go there. You can actually get a free account as well in ChatGPT. You don't have to pay any money. You don't have to give them a credit card. You can just go push, sign up. It'll take you where you need to go and you will have a free account. And you don't need to share any more information with them that you don't want to.
So thank you for setting the stage there. Let's give it up for Dr. Toy. I wish we had like clapping hands emojis and all of the things.
We might.
Yeah, we gotta put that on here. All right, so ChatGPT and Gemini. The reason we're going to start there is because this is just my thought process. Even though there are tons of them now, ChatGPT was kind of like the first, to kind of really get commercial. So, of course, they've been building this tech behind the scenes for a very long time. We've had exposure to artificial intelligence in our everyday lives for a very long time via things like Siri, turn on my lights, Alexa, turn on my favorite song, Netflix, please suggest a movie that is an action movie that I would enjoy. These are things that we've had exposure to for over a decade now, probably 12, 15 years in our everyday lives. ChatGPT, I think, was the first to really commercialize AI as we know it today. So even when you say ChatGPT, it's kind of like gotten the brand of AI. So that's why other people may not know that ChatGPT is just one platform,
It's like Kleenex.
Exactly. It's like Kleenex. I was just going to say that. You took the words right out of my. It's like Kleenex. Kleenex is not every tissue brand. Like, it's just the one that everybody, it's the main brand. It's the 300-pound gorilla in the space. So, you don't have to reach for a Kleenex. You could just get a tissue. And so you don't have to reach for ChatGPT. You could use any of the platforms that are out here. So just wanted to make that distinction because, a lot of people may not know that ChatGPT is not everything. So when you say ChatGPT and when you say Gemini, that's just two of a bunch, just like you said. I mean, there's Claude, there's Perplexity. Microsoft has Copilot. There's a bunch of them, so we're just going to talk about ChatGPT and Gemini today. ChatGPT was kind of the first to really go big. I think they had, I don't know, some insane number, 100 million users in a month or two, something really, really, really insane. And then Gemini, I think, is a really good one. This is just my personal opinion. Please, everybody, don't hold me to it. But I think in this whole space, Gemini is going to be the big winner. And that's my personal opinion. And I just think that's because they are a Google product and Google already had distribution. So I don't know anybody that doesn't have a Gmail account. You know what I mean? They already had 2 billion people that have Gmail accounts. So they just pipeline this product, Gemini, into they're already global networks. So, ChatGPT has to
Yeah.
start from the ground up.
And what's now, obviously, if you have a Gmail account, you've given a lot of your information over to Google anyway. Not that that's, they claim everything is safe.
There's that.
But one of the reasons, and I might be completely off base, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with Gemini just because I've already given Google access. So, I'm still very wary about what access, I give Gemini, or what things I say, but I felt a little more comfortable because I felt like I wasn't leaving the space. Now I do have a Chat GPT account too, because I play with all of these different models. But something that I want to mention right off the bat, whether you pick which one you pick, one or the other, it's just to try it out. And you can always switch. You can always do multiple. It's completely up to you. But one of the things you want to make sure you look at, and I did not know this when I first started, but there is a settings button in both of them. It's usually at the lower left. It'll have like your initial or something if you sign up for an account. And you need to click on that thing and go through all of the different personalization settings, because there's a data and privacy setting, and you can allow it to share your chat or whatever with the wider world, and to help improve the models. But I don't do that. I want to help improve the models, but when you're doing things for business and you have questions, you might be putting clients' information in or something, or even just your personal information. There are plenty of people that are training the model. You'll be fine.
Yep, yep, yep.
But but there's also a lot of other data settings in there, memory settings, like what you allow it to remember from your chats, which is kind of cool. You can set different things up and it works almost identically in Gemini as it does in ChatGPT, but make sure you go through those, because there's a lot of things that you will want to set up to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do, including the way that you want it to talk to you. So that's one of the things I'd love to talk about that for a minute, Tremaine, with you, because when you go into that settings feature, you are basically setting up the way that you want either ChatGPT or Gemini to perform for you, or give it a personality, right? So if you don't do anything to either one of them, you set 0 personality settings. Like you don't tell it what tone, you don't give it any information. If I say, hey, ChatGPT, I think it would be really fun to go, ice skating in 2-degree weather or whatever. And every time, no matter what you say, it'll be like, yeah, good idea. what a glorious thing to do. And so it's a little bit flowery with all of its responses, unless you tell it in those settings, like, please, no fluff. Please feel free to question me. Please push back. You can give it all kinds of personality settings and make it talk to you kind of the way that you want. So it's not being a yes man or yes woman, yes person for you.
So let's take one step back, because you mentioned something before you got to that part that I think really kind of sets the stage for that part of the conversation, which is training the model. So you said that there are plenty of people out here training the model. There are plenty of people out here giving it information and data to operate on. You don't have to click that button and make your information part of that process. What does that mean for somebody? When we say training the model, when we're talking about how these actual LLMs learn stuff, and when we say LLMs, that's large language models, those are the things that drive the AI. So when we say ChatGPT, when we say Gemini, it is getting trained on people's actual data. So when you type something in, when you ask it a question, your information goes in. That's how it learns more about the people and the things that are getting entered in. So talk a little bit about training the model, like everybody globally, putting in information about something to train it so that it can know more information. Because I don't think that's a small thing. I think that's a big deal that people may not understand.
Yeah, and we don't really know the implications of it. I mean, according to the user use agreements, they're not sharing your personal data, but see, the models don't actually read words. They're predictive machines. So it's like even one word, like, you said the cat ate the food or something, and it breaks down that it's not looking at the different words, it's looking at even smaller pieces of the words, and then it uses that to predict like what's the most likely thing that comes next. That's why
Right.
you can misspell the crud out of stuff when you're chatting. You can be grammar errant. Everything is, you don't need to fix it. It knows, because it knows, okay, you spelled the word incoherent wrong, but it knows that it'll most likely know, based on those, like breaking up those words into smaller pieces. It's
Yep.
really interesting how
Yep.
it does that. So it feels like you're talking to a person or a bot. It feels like it's, a conversation, and you need to treat it as such, but it's really not looking at actual words. It's predicting based on all of this information it was trained on, like how people
Mm-hmm.
speak, how,
Mm-hmm.
cadence of people's chat, all of those things, how you
Mm-hmm.
write, and so it's learning with all of these users more and more information, so it can better predict what it thinks that the answer that it thinks you want. That's why sometimes it's getting better all the time, though. Sometimes it can quote unquote hallucinate, which means you just get a really, not even a hallucinated response, but you're just going to get back something that when you read, you're like, oh, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a second, but it's, yeah. So when you're agreeing to train the model, technically, according to the companies, you're just educating it. It's not taking your information, but we honestly, we really don't know, right?
we don't quite know yet. We're still early in the game. A lot of people may not remember or know this, but ChatGPT has literally only been around like 3 years. We talked about this on the first episode, and I mean, ChatGPT is a toddler. It's still it's just past its infancy stage, and for it to already be a global sort of thing. And here's the funny thing: it was the first one, so the oldest one
He's
is
a
only
toddler.
3 years old. Exactly. So let's break down what you said. Let's give a real world, tangible example of how like hundreds of millions, billions of people train a model. So if I'm thinking about it, in terms of like a real world example, like let's just break it down to the bone gristle so that anybody can understand what we're saying about somebody training the data, or lots of people training the data. All right, so if we say that the sky is blue, right? And we ask it, or we put that into Chat GPT or any of the other platforms, but we're talking about Chat and Gemini. And a billion people or 100 million other people that are also using ChatGPT also say that the sky is blue. That is how, if you put in one day that is the sky red, ChatGPT will say, no, the sky is blue. And that's because it's been trained by 100 million people around the world, putting into this platform the data that says the sky is blue. And
Right.
so if you say that the sky is red, it's just pulling from data from all around the world, from the hundreds of millions of people, the millions of people that have been putting in information about how the sky is blue. It's just pulling all that information in, so that's how it can tell you, no, the sky isn't red, the sky is blue. It's just based on the data that has been given from so many different people. Is that a good
Right.
example, Dr. Toy? Maybe you have another
That's
one.
a great example. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Trina, is that you thought, Gemini is probably going to win out, and I would tend to agree with that. But and one of the reasons is because who owns YouTube?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
all of that data,
All your YouTube data, yes. All your
is
Gmail. I
all of
mean,
that.
yes, yes, yes.
So
Google has
that's
access to me to the most information on us. That's why I think that Gemini is going to be the big winner in this
oh,
AI space, because they have the biggest data sets on all of the more users than anybody else.
Yep, absolutely. So, do you want to talk about what you just kind of mentioned? We just went through that example about the sky is blue, and then somebody might go in and say, "Is the sky red?" And then likely hopefully the model will say, "No, no, no, it's blue, and here's why." Um, but that is a great example and segue into how to talk to these models. So most people, they think that they're using they're using the large language models, but they're using it as like a Google search or a Safari, whatever search you use, on steroids, because it'll give you so much more information than a normal search would. But
Sure.
you have to also, but there's another step after that, and that's thinking about it a little bit differently. So if I type into Google search, is the sky red? I will get back the same answer if I use that same exact question in any of the large language models. Um, but if you if you think about the way that you put information into a chat, you can't think about it like a Google search. You kind of have
Mm.
to, you have to really think about it as a conversation.
Yeah.
So if you were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
to a toddler, and the toddler told you that the sky was red, you wouldn't just like walk away and go, that's, hopefully you would walk away, that's wrong. You would explain to the toddler why. And then when you're having that conversation, you want to really treat it like it's a friend or an assistant. And so if it gives you a weird answer, you say, oh, no, that's incorrect. Here's what I was looking for. And you start to refine that conversation. And
Sure.
we're going to get into prompting. I don't know if we're going to get into it in this episode, but
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
yeah, but it's, when we talk about that, it's thinking about how to craft your chat and your question, if you will, as framing it so that it's more of a conversation and not just a static answer, you
Yeah.
know.
I think that so I think we probably will do a whole episode on just prompting,
Yeah.
or at least getting started in prompting. But I think one thing that we can touch on in this episode, and as we kind of wind it down, is the mindset shift. And that's
Mhm.
something that I think we mentioned in the first episode, but I think to dive a little deeper into what you just said, I think that is a key game changer. As you start to go into using these platforms, is that it is not a glorified search engine. This is not just Google search with a little extra. You really have to think differently about this technology. It is, I mean, we don't even know. I was about to say unlimited, but we don't even know where the guardrails are, the limits, the glass ceiling. We have no idea of all of the possibilities of what you can do with this technology. And so if you limit it by just saying, hey, instead of using Google, I'll use ChatGPT, like that is such a limiting sort of thought process when it comes to using this technology. And to your point, Dr. Toy, I think that if you just switch your mindset over, it's like, okay, I mean, it really goes into more of a growth mindset, growth versus
Yeah.
fixed mindset, that type of a thing. Can you learn more about this new technology? Meaning that, you know, can I change my mindset and say, hey, this new thing can potentially help me do so many other things in life, so many other things
Yeah.
than just a Google search. It can really help me to, when I was teaching, I think I might have mentioned, I teach a, sort of basic AI class at Georgetown University. And we talked about how to use this technology to do things like your CV, your resume, how you can use it to do interview prep. It's
Mhm.
just so many different things that you
Yeah.
can use this technology for that's way more advanced than just a Google search. So I think the mindset shift, and we'll get into more of the prompting and go a little deeper on another episode on that part of it. But I think to your point, Dr. Toy, the mindset shift is probably really key and pivotal if somebody's getting started in this space.
Yeah, it's just a different way of thinking. And it's really cool. And so, Tremaine and I kind of fell into AI about the same time, and like our brains cracked open and spilled out on the floor, and then we scooped them back up and this is really interesting.
Yeah.
But we started out the same way everybody else did, going, is the sky blue? Is this? And then just playing around with it, you
Yes.
learn. It's
Yes.
like when you first, like, the first time you ever cook like a pot of spaghetti, and it's like super basic, but then as you learn, as you like, I wonder what this would be like, I wonder if I should add this, and you just learn how to leverage it better. And we're going to get into all of that, so you guys don't even have to figure it out. So if you stick with this podcast, it's going to be so fun, because like Tremaine mentioned a couple use cases, we're going to get into use cases, fun stuff, serious stuff for work, but also I hope I'm going to get to do a whole episode on how you manage your household as a mom,
I love that. I love that.
Leveraging the AI, because that is something I'm just exploring right now. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even think about that application. But I think that to me, that's the fun part about all of this stuff. So just getting in, just do whatever, just do something. And you'll get better and better as you learn. And if you're a curious minded person like Tremaine and I are, which it's like, oh, what else can it do? What else can it
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell. Can I just say this fun thing, because this is so fun?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just messing around, and I'm gonna get into the mom stuff, but my kids can't
It's
seem to
all
get
good.
their
Listen,
dishes yet.
Dr. Toy mom episode coming soon. Like, we're just gonna put it out there. That is coming.
That's so funny. So I usually have dishes, like they can't somehow find their way from the sink to the dishwasher. So fine, that's probably like, you probably have that issue. Everyone has that issue.
Yep.
So I just put a little note up there, and then I was being goofy. So I just took a picture of like my kitchen sink with a little note, says, please put the stuff. And then I went into Gemini's image generator and I said, please make this look like a contraption that the Roadrunner and the Coyote would have. And it's hilarious. I'm happy to post. I'm happy to post the picture that it generated, because it was
Yes.
so funny. There
Yes.
was like
Yes.
dynamite on the side. There was
Oh
an
my gosh.
anvil.
So good. That is so good.
But
That is
that's
so
like a
good.
silly thing. But just doing that opened up a whole bunch of other ideas of how you can annotate that, how you do really cool stuff. You can generate images for reports and presentate, like just
Oh,
really, really neat.
yeah.
And you can be silly with it, but then the silliness, you'll start to think, oh, well, I'm not going to be this silly at work, but I can use that same principle over here in a different way.
Mhm.
And it's very fun. I taught a class recently at a local college, and
Yeah.
it was a lovely a man in the class, was very comfortable being silly. So he let everybody take his picture and put different hairstyles on him. And it was super basic and super silly, but it was so much fun. And then just knowing that you could do that, like that allowed the class to move into much broader applications of that
You
exact same
know,
thing.
you bring a good point up here, Dr. Toy, that I think could be really helpful for everybody, is that, it may be helpful to start on the creative end of it. I mean, because I think if you try to think about it in terms of efficiency, if you try to think about it in terms of productivity, you have to get a little bit more, I don't know, streamlined in your thought process, which is, I think eventually that's what we all want to get to. How does this thing help me be a better
Hmm.
me? How do, that type of thing. But when you're getting started, like, I think to your point, like, how do we make, an image with a cat head and a dog body? How do we, do some headshots? How do we make some music? Go to Suno and create a song, like, these are the things that probably could really open up your mindset as to what's possible, just kind of getting into creative. And if you're not a creative person, that's totally fine. You can just ask your kids something crazy and say, and put what they say into ChatGPT and see what comes out. Like, I mean, this is like the level of granularity that you can get to when building up your competency with this technology. You don't have to
Yeah.
think too hard about it. Just go in, just like Dr. Toy said, hey, and I'm telling you, Dr. Toy is going to have a mom episode, but hey, how do the dishes get from the sink to the dishwasher? Listen, I need a road runner, outline that we can post in the house chat, like, these are the types of things that'll really get you thinking outside of the box about what's possible for this technology. So, all right,
Yeah.
what's some takeaways? So let's close it out. So takeaways are: log into ChatGPT. It is easy. It is free. You don't have to pay any money. If you do decide to go the free route just to test it out, don't put any personal information in there. I think we talked about that. I don't think you want to do this anyway, but let's not put your social security number, your address, and your phone number into the free version of ChatGPT. But, outside of that, just download the app. If you have a Google Gmail account, which everybody does, look in the top right-hand portion of
Hmm.
it. You'll see a little star that says Gemini. Start messing around with it. Like, these are two quick and easy ways that you can get started right now today with AI. What you think, Dr.
And
Toy?
I think that's absolutely perfect. I do want to also mention, at least for the Chat GPT example, because Google's already connected. If you are really, you just like, I just want to just try. I don't even want to get a login. You can actually use ChatGPT for free. It's very basic, the features, but just if you're just getting started, you
Just get
can
started.
literally go. You don't have to tell them. You don't
Don't even
have
have to
to give
log
them
in.
nothing, right? So you can use. It's like you can't do a lot of things that you can do with even a free account, but to get started, I mean, it's really that easy. You can sprinkle in some questions and play around with it, and then go, oh yeah, maybe I'll log in now or something. But you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah. All right. This has been amazing. Appreciate your time today, Dr. Toy. Always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, pleasure is all mine.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Think Global Future Podcast. I almost
It's
forgot the
okay. It's
name.
only
I
podcast
needed some
too.
help with
Yeah.
ChatGPT. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.